In this session we're going to make a 2 or 3 ingredient flatbread that can be made very easily with some self-raising flour and some Greek style yogurt. Okay, this one's a fat-free one. I can add a little bit of salt and pepper. I can jazz this up with any of the flavours that I like. I have some rosemary left over from another meal that I prepared earlier. So we're going to start off with the flour. The ratio is approximately 2 spoons of flour to 1 spoon of yogurt. And into that, I'm going to snip in some rosemary. This is nice young rosemary, so I don't need to take it off the stem. The stem's really tender. If it was older rosemary, so it would be a darker green, I would remove the leaves. Some pepper. And a little bit of salt. Using the spoon that I had for the yogurt, I'm just going to mix that through. Press that right in. You'll think it's a bit dry to start off with, and then all of a sudden the flour will start to absorb all of that yogurt. And we'll bring it into a bowl. To a ball. And as that happens, okay, take it off there. Just going to put a little bit of flour on my bench. Okay. Might need to add a little bit more flour in a moment. Empty my bowl. Alright, now I'm just going to knead that together. So to knead, I'm taking it away from myself, folding it in half, and then squishing it down, rotating it, bringing it back, and squishing. Okay, so half squish. It's only a small amount. Might have to grab a little bit more flour on my bench. And I do it just until it all comes together as a nice ball of dough. Okay, so that was 2 spoons of flour. That's our complex carbohydrates. And by kneading, we're just getting the gluten to act just a little bit. We don't want to do it too much because we don't want it to be too tough. But the gluten will come together to try and give us that nice structure in our bread. Okay. So when it's together, it's nice and smooth. We're then ready to go on to the next step. Okay, put some more flour on your bench. And a little bit on your rolling pin. You're going to cut this dough in half. Roll it into a circle. Sprinkle some of the top of the dough with some flour. And you're going to gently move it around, back into the flour until it's nice and thin. Because it's got self-raising flour in it, it's going to rise a little bit when we put it into our frying pan ready to go. Now this recipe, if we keep it a little bit thicker, is actually really quick and easy pizza base as well. So there's one done. And our second one, repeat exactly the same. Okay, so start it off, move it through, nice and thin. Make sure that it's catching all of that flour. so that it doesn't stick. Nice and thin, so you've got a nice flatbread. It's called a flatbread for a reason. Okay, so that's our flatbreads done. Okay, we're going to turn our frying pan on to a nice hot heat because our flatbreads are ready. It'll take about 30 seconds or so to come to the right heat. Just going to spray that with just a little bit of oil. I don't need much for this. We want it nice and hot when the bread first goes in, and then we can actually turn it down a little bit. So this flatbread goes well with hummus, with dips. We could make it with tzatziki, so I could actually grab some more of that yogurt, and I could be minting up some garlic and putting in there with a little bit of mint, cucumber, and it would serve well. We can also make it with hummus. We'll make hummus later. Okay, so that's now going to go onto the heat. So the base of the bread at the moment, you'll start seeing little bubbles are happening there. I'm going to turn that down now to a medium heat. Alright, the bubbles are reacting. There's some acid in the yogurt and it's reacting with the baking powder in the self-raising flour, which is causing the carbon dioxide. At the moment, the bread is wet and it's on a dry surface with the frying pan, so the browning process is happening, dextrinization is happening, and that's where the dextrins turn into a nice brown colour. The same happens when you put a piece of white bread into a toaster. You know it's done when it's toasted, because that's the process of dextrinization. It only takes about a minute on each side. It's just a plate with a piece of paper towel so that the paper towel catches the condensation. Okay, so we're going to flip that over. So that nice browning reaction happening there. The smell at the moment of rosemary coming through that bread is beautiful. Okay, nice colour. Alright, nice colour bread. And we're going to put in the second one. Alright, so look at those bubbles forming on the surface. Makes it a lighter textured bread as well. Quick and easy, doesn't need to prove because it's got a chemical raising agent in this one. Whereas bread, when we're doing a loaf of bread, traditionally it uses yeast. Yeast is a biological raising agent. That biological raising agent takes time because it's a live creature. It needs time to eat and respire and to ferment the food that it's eating, which creates the carbon dioxide. Whereas this is the reaction of the carbon dioxide being produced from the raising agent in the self-raising flour. Those bubbles. Nice colour bread. A couple more seconds to check that out. And it's done as well. So that gets turned off. Now, we can take that bread now onto a board. We can cut that ready for any of our dips. Okay, again, you can go back on a plate now, ready for whatever we make. Okay, so that's making flatbread.